The last thing she expected to find in the forgotten woods behind the highway was a man's dying breath. For Clara, a girl with nothing but blisters on her hands and sorrow in her heart, this one discovery would cost her the little she had left, and in return give her a world she never knew existed. This is a story that will show you that even in the darkest of moments, a single act of kindness can change a life forever. But first, let's go back to where her struggle began. The morning sun hadn't even risen, yet Clara was already on the construction site, her hands white with cement, her back soaked in sweat. She was the only woman among dozens of men, yet she outworked all of them. Her headscarf was tied tight, her palms were raw, her jeans torn at the knees. But she didn't care. She couldn't afford to. She was working to keep her father alive. Clara was just 22, but life had aged her spirit. Her father, Arthur, once a proud schoolteacher, now lay bedridden in their tiny cottage in the village of Crestfall. A strange illness had struck him 2 years ago, and since then, his body had grown frail, his voice weak. Her mother, Elena, stayed by his side day and night, washing him, feeding him, and praying for a miracle. That miracle never came. So Clara became the miracle they prayed for. She had dropped out of her studies, picked up a shovel, and joined a construction crew. While other girls her age were chasing dreams and romance, Clara was mixing sand and cement, lifting blocks heavier than her hopes. "Look at that pretty thing working like a man," one of the workers would mock. "She's stronger than I am," another would laugh, but Clara paid them no mind. Every drop of sweat was for her father, every blister was a sacrifice, and every coin she earned went straight to buying his medicine and their food. That afternoon, as the sun scorched the earth beneath her feet, a sleek black car pulled up beside the site, its tires kicking up a cloud of dust. Out stepped a woman in fine lace, gold jewelry clinking with every step. Her sunglasses screamed of city money, and her expensive perfume followed her like a shadow. "Madame Dubois," the workers murmured. Clara glanced up, her hands still gripping a bucket of cement. Madame Dubois tilted her head, a look of puzzlement on her face. "Is that a girl?" She walked over, her high heels sinking slightly into the dirt. "You. What's your name?" Clara dropped the bucket and wiped her face with the back of her hand. "Clara, ma'am." "You're a woman and you do this kind of work?" "Yes, ma'am." Madame Dubois stared at her for a long moment. "You're strong. I like that. And you're very beautiful, even covered in dust." Clara smiled shyly. "Thank you, ma'am." "What would you say if I told you I could change your life?" Clara blinked. "Change my life, ma'am? I live in the capital city, Viridia. I run businesses. I help girls like you. Come with me. I'll give you a job 10 times better than this. You won't need to carry blocks again." Clara's hands trembled slightly. She had never heard such words. "Do you mean it?" Madame Dubois nodded. "I see potential in you." That night, Clara could barely contain her excitement. She rushed home, her face beaming. "Mama, Papa, a woman named Madame Dubois is taking me to Viridia." Her mother dropped the spoon. "Viridia?" "She said she'll give me a better job, more money, no more carrying blocks. She said she sees potential in me." Her father coughed weakly. "Clara, be careful." "She's from a town near here, Papa. Madame Dubois. She helps people. I have to try. For you, for Mama." That night, they didn't sleep. Elena sat on the floor, crying silently. Her only child, her backbone, was going to the city. Arthur called Clara close and placed a shaky hand on her head. "My daughter, may you never face disgrace. May the city favor you. May you return greater than you went." Clara nodded, holding back tears. "I'll make you proud." The next morning, the whole village watched as Madame Dubois' car arrived. Clara hugged her father tightly. "I'll come back with money for your treatment." she whispered. Her mother held her, weeping into her shoulder. Don't let the city change your heart. Clara got in the car. As it pulled away, she looked out the window and saw her parents getting smaller and smaller. She didn't know it yet, but the city wasn't welcoming her with open arms. It was preparing to break her. The drive to Viridia was long, but Clara barely noticed. Her eyes were glued to the window. Every town, every billboard, every tall building felt like a step into a new, better world. Madame Dubois didn't talk much, mostly scrolling through her phone and making sharp business calls. When they finally entered Viridia, it was like stepping into a dream. Towering buildings scraped the sky. The roads were wide and bustling. It was nothing like her dusty village. They drove into a gated estate in an area called Azure Hills, more beautiful than anything Clara had ever imagined. They stopped in front of a large ivory-white mansion. "Welcome to your new life," Madame Dubois said. Inside, the house was a palace of marble floors and crystal chandeliers. "You'll be staying here," Madame Dubois said. "Go freshen up. There's food." That night, Clara slept on a real mattress with clean sheets. She cried silently, not tears of sadness, but tears of hope. For a week, nothing happened. Madame Dubois told her to relax and enjoy herself. But Clara grew restless. "Ma'am," she finally asked one evening, "when will I start the job?" Madame Dubois smiled, sipping red wine. "Tonight?" "Tonight?" "Yes, your first assignment. Be ready." Clara rushed to her room, her heart full of hope. It must be a night shift job, she thought. At 8 p.m., Madame Dubois entered, holding a shopping bag. "Wear this," she said, tossing it on the bed. Clara opened the bag and her heart dropped. Inside was a tiny red dress, barely any fabric at all. "Ma'am, I don't understand." Madame Dubois' tone turned cold. "You're going out with a guest. He paid for you. Wear it." Clara froze. "Paid for me?" "Yes. He likes fresh village girls. This is your job." "But I thought you were giving me a real job." "This is the job." Madame Dubois slammed her wineglass on the table. "You'll make 10 times your construction pay in one night." Clara backed away. "I can't. I'm not that kind of girl." "Then get out," Madame Dubois said coldly. "Now, take your bag and go." "Out? Get out!" Madame Dubois screamed. "You think I'm running a charity? Get out before I call security!" Clara grabbed her small bag, her heart pounding. The gate slammed behind her. She stood on the dark, quiet street, the lights of Viridia suddenly cold and cruel. Just hours ago, she was full of hope. Now she was homeless, barefoot in the cold night, confused, scared, and humiliated. She walked without knowing where she was going. Men in cars slowed down, shouting suggestive things at her. She ran. Eventually, she found an empty bus stop shelter and curled up on the bench, but a group of drunk men arrived and she ran again. By 2 a.m., she crouched beside a locked kiosk, her bag as a pillow. Mosquitoes feasted on her legs. Her stomach growled. Tears slipped down her cheeks, but she wiped them away angrily. "I won't cry," she whispered. "I'm not weak." But inside, she was broken. She decided one thing that morning: she would rather starve than sell her body. She spent the day knocking on doors, pleading for any kind of cleaning job. Most ignored her. Some men made indecent proposals. By evening, her legs were swollen, her throat burning, her stomach empty. She sat under a bridge, surrounded by the city's forgotten people. She whispered through clenched teeth, "I won't die here. I will survive this. I will make Papa proud. I will." By the 4th morning, she stopped hoping for a rescuer. Hope was a luxury she couldn't afford. She joined a group of street hawkers selling bottled water. A girl named Chinwe eyed her. "You want to sell or beg?" "Sell," Clara replied softly. An old woman selling roasted plantain intervened. "Give her a crate. Let her try." And so Clara began her new life, weaving through the chaotic traffic, shouting, "Water for sale! Cold water!" Some nights, police would chase them away. Other nights, rain would pour down, soaking everything. But she sold water by day and refused to sell herself by night. One evening, after a long day, she sat under the bridge, staring at the sky. "God," she whispered, "I know you see me. Please don't let this be my end." She didn't know it yet. But the very next day, while trying to relieve herself in the bushes behind the highway, her prayer would be answered in the most terrifying way. It was a hot, dusty afternoon. The traffic was backed up for miles. Clara needed to use the toilet urgently. She remembered the bushy patch of land behind the highway. Clutching her crate, she walked quickly towards it. Just as she finished, she heard it. A faint, broken voice. "Help! Please! Somebody! Help me!" Clara froze, her heart pounding. The voice came again. "Please, don't let me die!" Fear and curiosity battled inside her. She tiptoed toward the sound, and then she saw him. Lying behind a pile of old tires was a man in a torn suit, his white shirt soaked in blood. His hands and legs were tied. His face was swollen with a deep gash on his forehead. He opened his eyes weakly. "Please, don't let me die," he whispered, and then lost consciousness. Clara's mind spun. Was this a trap? But something deep inside her moved. This man was dying. Without a second thought, she bent down and tried to lift him. He was heavy, but adrenaline gave her strength. She dragged him inch by inch to the edge of the road, waving frantically at passing cars. "Please help me! Please!" Finally, a dusty old taxi screeched to a stop. "Please, sir, he's dying! Take us to the nearest hospital!" The driver looked at the unconscious man. "You'll pay me, right?" "I'll pay, I swear. Just go." At the hospital, the taxi driver demanded his fare. Clara opened her bag. She only had a handful of coins, her entire day's earnings. "Please, sir, this is all I have." The driver hissed, snatched the money, and drove off. Inside the emergency ward, the nurses barely looked up. "Where is the deposit?" one asked. "I don't have any money left, but he needs help." The nurse shook her head. "No deposit, no treatment." Clara's voice cracked. "Please, please don't let him die. He was left for dead in the bush." She dropped to her knees. After minutes of pleading, a doctor finally appeared. He checked the man's pulse and shouted, "We need to stabilize him now." "But sir," the nurse said, "we need blood. His type is rare and our bank is empty." "I'll give him mine," Clara said without thinking. They stared at her. "Are you sure?" "Yes. Take it." Within minutes, the needle was in her arm. Blood drained from her already weak body. She felt dizzy, but she didn't care. An hour later, as she sat on a bench in the hallway, her vision blurred, and she collapsed. "The girl who brought him in just fainted," a nurse shouted. "Give her glucose. She hasn't eaten in days." And inside the ER, the man she saved began to stir. He finally opened his eyes, blinking at the harsh lights. "Water," he rasped. A nurse leaned in. "You're in the hospital, sir. You're safe. A girl brought you here. She saved your life." "A girl?" "She's in the next ward. She collapsed after donating blood for you." He struggled to sit up. "Take me to her." His voice was weak, but it carried an undeniable authority. He walked slowly to the next ward. The door creaked open. There she was, Clara, lying on the bed, face pale, an IV in her arm. The man stood in the doorway for a long moment, then stepped forward until he was beside her bed. "You saved me," he whispered. Her eyes fluttered open. "You're awake," she mumbled. "I am," he said, "because of you." "I thought you were going to die." "I nearly did," he said. "But you dragged me out, called a taxi, paid with your last money, begged the doctors, and gave me your own blood." "I couldn't leave you there," she whispered. "Why?" he asked softly. Tears filled her eyes. "Because even if nobody sees me, I still have a heart. That single sentence hit him like thunder. I promise you, he said, his voice trembling with conviction, your life will never be the same again. At that moment, a man in a black suit burst into the room. Sir! Thank God we found you! The man held up a hand. Later, Julian, later. He turned back to Clara. What's your name? Clara, from Crestfall. He extended his hand. Clara, I am Alistair Blackwood, chairman of the Blackwood Group, and from this moment, I owe you my life. Clara stared, unsure if she had heard him correctly. Alistair Blackwood. The name was legendary. The tech mogul who built an empire from scratch. One of the richest men in Europe. A mystery, and now that man was beside her, his eyes filled with gratitude. You don't know what you've done for me, he said. I only did what I hoped someone would do for my father, she whispered. Alistair nodded slowly. He turned to his assistant, Julian. Settle all the bills, everything. By evening, a tray of food arrived. Jollof rice, grilled fish, fresh juice. Clara ate, and with every bite, she felt life returning to her bones. How did you end up like that, sir? She asked quietly. I was kidnapped, he said. It was a planned operation. They got the ransom, but then decided to kill me anyway. They drugged me, tied me up, and dumped me in the bush to die. They thought I wouldn't survive, and I didn't think I would either, until you showed up. She was quiet, then said, You were meant to live, sir. God still has work for you to do. And maybe, he said, looking at her carefully, you are part of that work. He turned to her again. Get ready. Tomorrow you're coming with me. Sir, I can't. Just say yes, he said gently. She looked at him, speechless, tears welling in her eyes. Yes, she whispered. The next morning, Clara was discharged. Alistair was waiting at the hospital entrance with a sleek black Range Rover. He opened the door himself. Let's go home, he said. She didn't understand until they arrived at a sprawling white mansion in the Onyx Quarter, surrounded by high walls and golden fountains. She stepped out, clutching her small nylon bag. A maid in uniform bowed. Welcome, sir. Welcome, madam. Madam? Inside, it was even more surreal. Crystal chandeliers, Italian tiles, soft music. This is your house? She asked. Yes, he said with a small smile. And it's your home now, too. A maid guided her to a guest room larger than her entire family's cottage, with a king-sized bed and a bathroom with rose-scented soap. Later, Alistair invited her to the garden. Tell me about yourself, he said. She hesitated, then opened up. She spoke of her father, Arthur, his illness, her mother, her job as a construction worker, and finally Madame Dubois. She said she'd give me a job. She lied. When I refused to sleep with the man she brought, she threw me out. Alistair's eyes darkened. That woman, she will pay for what she did to you. I don't care about her. I just want to help my parents. Alistair was silent. Then he spoke quietly. What if I told you I could fly your father to the best hospital in Switzerland for treatment? Clara's head shot up. Sir? I'll arrange everything. Full medical support, private jet, your mother too. She covered her mouth, tears streaming down her face. But why? Why are you doing all this for me? He looked her straight in the eye. Because you gave me something no one else did. Humanity. When I had nothing, not even a name, you saved me. He returned with a small black briefcase and set it in front of her. She opened it. It was filled with cash, more money than she had ever seen. Clara gasped, trembling. I can't accept this. You can, and you will. Use it to build a future, not just for yourself, but for your family. She collapsed into the chair, shaking. She had no words, just tears. The kind of tears that come when pain finally meets peace. Alistair leaned back. Tomorrow morning my jet will be ready. Your parents will be flown to Switzerland. You'll go with them." She stood slowly and fell to her knees before him, but he gently lifted her up. "No, you don't kneel to me. You stand tall. After everything you've survived, you are stronger than most people I know." He then placed a house document on the table. "A 3-bedroom cottage, yours. The title is in your name. You will never be homeless again." Clara could only look up at the sky. Just days ago, she was sleeping under a bridge. Now she stood in a billionaire's mansion, holding the keys to a new life. "Papa," she whispered, "you'll finally get the help you need." "This is not charity, Clara," Alistair said. "This is harvest. You sowed kindness, and now you are reaping destiny." And with that, her story, once built on hardship and betrayal, turned its final page. The moral of the story is this: kindness and integrity never go unnoticed. Even when the world turns its back, staying true to your values will lead you to a destiny greater than you can imagine. One act of compassion can open doors that money cannot. We hope you enjoyed this powerful story. Please share your thoughts in the comments. And if this story touched your heart, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe for more. Thank you for watching.